And by the way, repairs that were at one time, I don't know, X amount of expense have now been like jacked way up. As you go up in like rank level loyalty with each one of the traders between Skier and Prapper, Prapper's had his cost increased by like 40%, and so has Skier. It used to be that Skier got less expensive as you whatever became more loyal to each other. He started off at like 100% expense, and then by loyalty level 4 was like 85. Now it starts at 100 and goes to 140, and Praps is the same. They both went way up in expense, which makes there be more reliance on armor kits, which there already was reliance on armor kits because they were already cheaper than the repairs from either one of those guys. But yeah, insurance and repair expenses are both like now going way up with loyalty level. So I finally get to be in a YouTube vid. Yeah, we'll start the YouTube video right here. We'll start the YouTube video right here. Why not? All right, so chat, for those of you that don't know, the DMZ mode that they're looking to do with the new Call of Duty is going to be the Warzone map, the Warzone 2 map that they're teasing, but it's going to be open and with points of interest, plus AI opponents that are supposedly going to be lethal. There's going to be some type of looting. There's going to be some type of marketplace, and it's an extraction shooter mode, right? So BSG basically created the genre of extraction shooter, and Call of Duty Activision is attempting to capture that audience, because they're trying to make like this all-encompassing game in Call of Duty that attracts all of the different like subgenres of shooting game fans, right? Billed as an all-new sandbox experience, DMZ will arrive simultaneously with Warzone 2.0's November 16 launch. So they're saying that it's you're going to drop into Warzone's Al Mazrah map, said to accomplish a number of objectives and extract when the time is right. So they basically said like you show up and then you can leave when you want to leave, right? And that's Tarkov. You're supposed to loot stuff. AIs occupying large sections of the map. They're lethal opponents that command your respect, according to the game director Jack O'Hara. They patrol areas. They occupy strongholds. They're reinforced based on player actions. You can go loud or you can go quiet. You can hunt other players, avoid them entirely. You can decide, I'm going to explore the secrets of Al Mazrah and see what's there. That is everything that we know. And there's weapon customization, and it's going to be free to play. But I think that's kind of like where the similarities end in terms of like the description of it. So that's the part that I think I find the most interesting. So there's going to end up being like loot box mechanics. There's going to end up being, flashy gun skins and like decking out your player in like, whatever that they'll end up wearing. Like there's going to be outfits that, there's going to be microtransactions to be able to afford that kind of stuff. If it's going to be free to play, that's just Activision's deal. But I think what they're going for is like the core game loop. So if you think about it this way, right? All the bigger names in Tarkov are known for going after and hunting down PvP for the most part, right? The idea is they're trying to get that like faster paced, movement related, like kill kind of stuff. And Call of Duty is known for movement related mechanics. So it's more likely that they're going to be going after like a watered down but more action oriented like Tarkov crowd that's looking more for like slightly more like arcadey feel to do, all of the PvP level and PvE level things that we can do in Tarkov without needing all of the nuance of understanding the ballistic mechanics, understanding like all of the different armor types and, all the different helmets and whether you wear a face shield or not and how that's going to affect your hearing and the different headsets and like all of the extra immersive environmental related stuff, the survival piece and like the RPG part. Like they're probably not going to do any of that. It's probably just going to be loadout related, purchased or otherwise. Get in there, do whatever the objective is that you're attempting to do. If there's an objective to do, loot some shit and then get back out. Yeah, I think it's going to be more oriented toward people that want to do PvP. Right, because you're talking about like skimming the cream off the top of Tarkov in that case, right? Like tip of the iceberg level, like gameplay, I think. I don't think they're going to capture the immersive nature of this game, but I think that they're trying to get the people that want like something more action related or have it be like a bridging of the gap between like, I'm playing Counter-Strike all day. What is this Tarkov game? Like, whoa. And like they get that shock of like, wow, this is really like involved. and some people stick it out and other people don't. It's kind of like bridging the gap between those two, right? Like I like to play a lot of Warzone and Apex. I heard this game was kind of interesting, and then it's like this massive difference. It's probably going to be something in between. So maybe they play like the arcade style game, and then they dive into this one, and then they move into like Tarkov proper, you know, or maybe they move into arena mode if arena mode ever shows up. The player base will be larger than what it is in Tarkov for that mode, at least at the start, because there's it's free to play, no buy-in, right? Anybody can play it if they want to, no buy-in. It's an Activision marketed product. You know, Warzone 2 is probably a $50 million game with a 3,000 person staff, so they're gonna have the money and they're gonna have the marketing to push it in front of everyone. You know, major players, major commercials, yada yada yada. They're gonna have like massive marketing pushes between now and November, trying to get everybody hyped up and buy into it. So like when the game launches, they'll have 150 million players. You know, Tarkov, I think probably all-time best is somewhere around 1 million at most. They're gonna have, you know, tens of millions of people probably trying out like the DMZ mode in the very first like hour. So they're gonna have a much larger player base, and even if they start hemorrhaging people playing Modern Warfare, they're gonna have, you know, 10 times the number of players that are playing Tarkov just playing that one mode, more than likely. I don't know if it's going to appeal to people that are like in it for Tarkov though. And the other thing that I found interesting is the marketing that they've already done. And they also haven't shown any gameplay at all, by the way. And for me to want to part with my money, it's got to be more about like seeing what the gameplay is about versus like wait till you see it. You know what I'm saying? Like I need to actually see what goes on in the game mode. You have a shadow of a soldier standing behind the DMZ letters in like this interesting cityscape, right? Does that look remotely familiar? You know, now these guys Tarkov wasn't the first to like try and make like the big block letters and like the cityscape and like the dude and everything. They did the same thing for like DayZ, you know, but like, you know what I mean? There is no gun actually showing. I'll give you that. Okay? It's true. And he is wearing a ball cap. All right. He does have just a hat on. Whereas this guy's wearing a helmet. Vastly different. Definitely not the same. I would venture to guess, just based on the marketing alone and the way that it's been described, it is definitely influenced by the dudes playing Tarkov. I would say that it's been inspired by Tarkov. Would be a good way to put it, I think. Everybody pulls from everything. You know, it's not like it's necessarily a bad thing. This is more just along the lines of being like, I think they're definitely going to be paying homage to like a more arcaded version of Tark. That being said, the question will be whether or not it's replayable. And the thing that makes people want to come in and play Tarkov is the sense of loss, right? The big like gear fear adrenaline rush thing is like, if I die, I'm going to lose this kit. Crap, right? I have to go back to my inventory. I have to like build myself out again, and it's going to cost me money to do that, right? So the question becomes whether or not you end up feeling squeezed. If there's no squeeze, then the game doesn't really have any challenge. If there's never a moment where I'm like, oh, I got to pistol run this, or to try and like make up a couple of bucks, or I've got to get in there with like a shotgun because I need to make a couple of bucks, like feeling to need to loot run. And eventually you get to the point where like that becomes something that you don't need to do anymore because making money's easy. But the initial squeeze is the thing that makes people, in my opinion, want to play like, you know, that Tarkov style of game, right? It's the sense of loss is the thing that makes you come back, you know, especially if you're the winner. You know what I'm saying? So like, what am I looting from this that's going to make me feel good about having won this interaction? Or am I just getting like some extra points that I can spend in the costume shop? Do I need like X amount of XP in order to be able to use a red dot? And now it's just unlocked and it's going to cost me like 100 points, but I have 100,000. See what I'm saying? Like the idea of there being like a marketplace or like currency only matters if you end up like really having to spend it, you know? You need the gamble. If there's no monetary squeeze, like if there's no currency squeeze, then for me it's not fun. It could have that hunt showdown feel associated with it, where it's like you have a character that starts off at level 1. As your character progresses and gets bigger, faster, stronger, you get perks that you can assign to your character to make them more well-rounded. And if you can get your character to level 50, they kind of like prestige out if you want them to. Yeah, that could be potentially possible. For sure. And that also might come with the microtransaction aspect of it too. You could end up having like normies, like Jim, the specialist, and he's a level 1 and he's in his underoos. And then you also have like the premium currency side where like in Hunt, you can get like the legendary specialist that, you know, they look really cool and they're halfway decked out and they got some good perks to start off and, you know, that kind of stuff. So there's absolutely the potential for that. So they described it as something that you'd be able to like loot stuff. Looting can be really subjective. The question is whether or not you'll have loadouts going in, right? Is that going to come from a stash? Is the loadout going to come from a market? You know, maybe it's more similar to Hunt than it is Tark. My guess would be is that there's going to be like, you know, you'll own X number of weapon or whatever. If there is that, maybe in a list. I don't think that they're going to do like a full hideout or like full inventory experience with like the grid. It's probably going to be something closer to Hunt. You got like 4 Sparks rifles or something that's just like chilling in your inventory and you assign one to your character. And it could also be like, I killed a guy and he popped like a pinata and he dropped like 7 armor plates and, you know, 3 rifles or whatever. And I'm going to loot the purple one. You know what I mean? So technically speaking, they'd be right that it is looting. Like that's not Tarkov though. You know, it's just, technically you're picking something up off the ground. I guess you are looting something. So final verdict on this is it looks interesting. I'm curious. I would like to see what the gameplay looks like before I part with my money. And I worry that there will be a bunch of people that part with their money in hopes that they're going to somehow have done Tarkov better. And I don't know if they can. Even with all the money that they got, I don't know if they can.